Coming to the second speaker, evaluation of the second speaker, Toastmaster Hemalata. Hemalata, you gave a fantastic speech today. What I loved about your speech, right? Two specific things that I loved about your speech. One, your opening with a quote was strong and powerful. And when I heard that quote, right, I was literally moving to the edge of the seat because the message that you are going to tell, I was very curious to know what a good mentor will look like, right? And the second thing that I loved about your speech was a very coherent structure in the speech, right? You were clear saying, okay, what are the 4 traits of a good mentor, right? Spending time, planning, encouraging, and then giving clear directions to the protege. And this coherent structure made, that was very powerful because I was able to realize what exactly a good mentor will look like. Now moving on to recommendations, right? What could have made this good speech the best speech? 2 very specific recommendations. Your speech had a lot of stories, but the stories are buried somewhere inside, right? The stories are coming after the 3rd or 4th minute when the audience are a little bit lost. Because when you start the speech, first 3 minutes, you made a lot of statements. When you start making a lot of statements, people switch off. Because statements don't create that impact. But if you place the stories up front, right? Use the first 2 minutes to open with the story because you had 2 good stories. The first story about your project and another story about your manager taking people for lunch and giving feedback and all that, or driving with team members. So you had 2 wonderful stories. Why can't you bring those stories to the front? Open with the story. Nobody says that because if you start with a statement, people will switch off. Right? Number 1, placement of stories is very important. Bring the stories to the front. Number 2, bring specificities to the stories. Right? That will only bring life to the story. When you start giving stories, as we saw in the last keynote session, bring the name, date, and place. Only then your story becomes a credible story. Otherwise, it becomes a very generic one. People will not be able to relate. Put a name to it. You don't have to put the real name. Put a fictitious name to it. Put a date to it. Put a place to it. Only then we can visualize the story. For example, that manager, I want to be like that manager, right? So I need a name for that person. So in summary, 2 commendations. You had a very strong opening, you had a coherent structure, and 2 recommendations. Place the stories up front and bring specificity to the stories. Thank you so much. I am looking forward to more of your speeches. Thank you again. With that, let's move on to the general evaluation. Timer and remaining, yeah. So, timer, can I request timer Toastmaster Gautam to provide his timer?
Hi, I'm here to present the timer's report. So today for the